Hello, everyone, and welcome for another episode of The Ball is Round. I'm Hady Raphael, and tonight on the show, the Canadian men's national team wins in Jamaica for the first time since 1988. The end of the post-mortem here on The Ball is Round with Olivier Renard, and we'll take a look on the first important date of the MLS offseason. That and a lot more on episode 156 of The Ball is Round. And I'm joined tonight by my friend Eve Powell. Hey, Eve, how are you today?
I'm doing all right. I think is going to be my safe answer. How are you?
I'm okay. Busy weekend. A lot of things to do with my kid and watch a bit of soccer with that thrilling 14-0 win from France against Gibraltar, which was entertaining in a way. What did you do?
So obviously had some soccer to watch as well. But it was a friend had some folks over for wine and cheese last night, and it was like a classy party. It tried to be a classy party.
It didn't finish the classy way, if I understand.
Unfortunately not. No. And unfortunately I reaped the consequences today, hence my moderate disheveledness.
Unfortunately, Elias will not be able to join with us today. He might maybe join us during the show, but as of right now, he's not here. Let's start right with it, with the Canadian men's national team, who had a very, very important encounter in Jamaica, in Kingston, for the quarterfinals of the CONCACAF Nations League. Yes, it's a quarterfinals of the Nations League, but not only. It's a possibility for the Canadian national team to qualify for the Copa America, the 2024 Copa America. We talked about it last week, and the first game was supposed to be played on Friday evening. Unfortunately, there was a lot of rain. The pitch wasn't at all.
It was not good.
Exactly, it wasn't at all in condition to host such an important game. So what happened is the game was postponed to the next day, so Saturday at 10:30 Eastern Standard Time, so Saturday morning. At the same time, we were expecting that Mauro Biello will take that game in a very professional and a very serious way. He needed that win, not only for the Copa America, not only for the Nations League, but also to be maybe one of the candidates for a permanent position, in the future. So let's look at the Mauro Biello's starting 11. That was the starting 11 that he chose. We talked about the squad last time. The starting 11 was Milan Borjan in goal. As central defenders, we had Kamal Miller and Steven Victoria. On the left, Sam Adekugbe. On the right, Richie Larea. In midfield, we had Steven Eustáquio and Ishmael Kone. As a right winger, Tejan Buchanan. Left winger, Alphonso Davies. And up front, we had Kyle Larin and Jonathan David. Now, of course, that's what we thought was going to be the lineup, the 4-4-2. Then it changed a bit when we saw, Larea play as a right center back and everything. What did you think about the starting 11 when you first saw it, Eve?
Obviously, massive relief to have Steven Eustáquio back. He's such an important player for this squad, so huge relief to see him back and starting. I think as well, we definitely talked about it when Canada played against Japan, and they played a 3 at the back, and it did not go well. And, a lot of Canada's weaknesses got exposed very cruelly, I think, in a really harsh light during that match. And if I'm not mistaken, we had said we really, really need to see this team in a 4-back, and I think kind of landed on 4-4-2, and we got what we asked for. So I was really happy overall.
Yeah, and the choice of players, were you surprised or?
I think there's probably always a little bit of a question, about Alistair Johnston not starting. Perhaps having Rich Larea start in place of him was maybe the only question that gave me pause. Otherwise, I was very much here for the choice of players. I thought there was a good mix of veteran and a little bit of youth still, with guys like Buchanan and Kone, even though Buchanan kind of is a veteran by this point. And Milan Borjan, I don't know. I think I've just come to terms with the fact that Milan Borjan will be playing maybe even after I'm dead, starting in net for us.
I think you needed experience in that game, so I kind of understand Milan Borjan as a starter, even if I would have preferred to go with the Max Kripo, because at one point you have to start preparing for the future. One thing, and to come back to Richie Larea, the problem that I have, it's not Richie Larea starting over Alistair Johnston. It's just the partnership of Richie Larea and Steven Vittoria for me is not the right one, because Vittoria is slow and Richie Larea is very offensive. So, exploiting that space behind Vittoria and behind Larea is kind of easy. And that's something that was really
in the early stages of the match.
Yeah,
I'm gonna jump into it.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about it a bit later. So I was a bit wary about this. I tweeted it out too. The thing is, if you want to start with Larea, in my opinion, you should have Cornelius. And if you don't want to start with if you want to start with Vittoria, then you have to have Alistair Johnston. That's the way I see it, just in order to make sure that the defensive line is still as solid as ever. So that's my opinion. And as you said at the beginning of the game, we saw that firsthand. With that long ball directly to Leon Bailey that went right in behind Richie Larea, beat Steven Vittoria, and tried to lob the keeper, to try to lob Milan Borjan. And thankfully for us, it was off target. And a few minutes later, second time, on the 15th minute, Leon Bailey, again, found in behind Vittoria, and the Aston Villa winger misses his target for a second time. So after 15 minutes, Leon Bailey with 2 clear-cut chances. What did you think about that?
Oh, I was I was concerned for sure, 100%, because it seemed as though number one, Leon Bailey is a super talented player, and Jamaica has come so far in the players that they're able to bring into the fold, especially with like dual nationals, kind of similar to Canada's efforts in that regard. It seemed as though Richie Larea unfortunately just kind of neglected, I want to say, almost. Like, he was so focused on contributing to the offensive effort that the space was there. And I mean, credit to Jamaica for seeing it. And as you rightfully said, unfortunately Steven Vittoria can't cope with a lot of pace. So eventually, obviously, I think instructions were given, because it did get better. But yeah, it was really dangerous.
Yeah, it was very, very dangerous. But you know what? Thank God, it didn't happen. A goal wasn't scored, and Canada was able to really take control of the ball right after. I think that's when after those 2 scares, that's when Canada really tried to control the play. We got that long range shot from Kone. That was the first time we saw something dangerous from Canada with the shot off target. It wasn't a real chance, but it kicked things off in a certain way.
Yeah.
And then on the 32nd minute, we saw again an Alphonso Davies. Most of the time, we saw the few chances that Canada had in the first 35, 40 minutes came from that left-hand flank. And Davies gave the ball to Carol Larin. Carol Larin really set the ball up to really try to find the side netting with the shot outside the box. And it was a really good save from Andre Blake.
It was.
Exactly. So what did you think about Kyle Laren at that time? Because we know that Kyle Laren is not having the best season of his life,
No, yeah.
but he seemed lively.
He did actually. I was really surprised. I no, maybe not surprised is probably not a kind way to describe it. He was definitely he can be a very streaky player. I think that's the case for him for both club and country, and a little bit just strikers in general, right? But yeah, there were definitely some concerns, I think, because at least he's playing, but he hasn't been finding the target with Mallorca. So I was a little bit concerned that maybe he's not coming into this in kind of the great form that he enjoyed when he initially moved to Spain. But it seemed as though like he just seemed in a lot better spirits, I guess, on the attack, and it was no, it was really effective.
Yeah, and we talked about it here on the Ball is Round with Cat Laren last year with Valladolid. Really, he was the man of Valladolid, the one that was able to really save the club from being relegated. It was him, or tried to save the club of being relegated. And then he signed in Mallorca, being everybody thought that he was going to be great again in Spain. Unfortunately, it's not happening. But during that game, he seemed very, very interesting. He had a couple of nice looks, nice chances, and he seemed like he really wanted to get the job done for Canada. Let's not forget, Kyle Laren is the best scorer in the Canadian men's national team history. As simple as that. 36th minute. Corner from Alphonso Davies. Unfortunately, it's the corner is cleared off, but then comes back to Alphonso Davies, who really tries a really nice cross on Jonathan David's head. Jonathan Davids tries something really interesting. He tries to lob Andre Blake with his head. Unfortunately, there wasn't enough power in it, but it was kind of interesting to have that sort of maturity in front of goal to try something as difficult as that, because we all know, Andre Blake's quality. So did you think that was clever, or did you think that he was trying a bit too much?
Yeah, I thought it was a little bit contrived, I guess. Maybe it's the word I'm going to go for. I don't know how convinced a player was going to be to have, a header lob the keeper like that. It's a risky-ish move. It occasionally pays off, during the chaos of a set piece from time to time, but kind of, I think the initial wave had already passed by that point. So yeah, for me, it was like a little bit ambitious.
Yeah, and Jonathan David is another one that's not having a very good time with Lille this year yet. So only scored 2 goals, and it hasn't been going very well. And lastly, he's been on the bench for the last few games too. So do you think that's it's the lack of finishing? Is it concerning for Jonathan David to not be able to find the net as often as he used to last year?
Yeah, I mean, I think obviously if you're scoring for your club and you can bring that confidence and that sort of willingness to take risks as well to your national team, and as well that could perhaps also allow you to kind of contribute, more in the locker room during training sessions. You just kind of bring that different swagger and that aura, So without it, yeah, I think maybe the vibe is a little bit different, but overall, we do know that this national team is a very like united group that does get on very well together. So hopefully as well, the other Canadian national team players can help lift the spirits if we do have a player who shows up and, their season isn't going to plan for one reason or another.
Yeah, but what's interesting in that is that the partnership between David and Laren is really, really interesting. They really like to play with each other. They find themselves very easily. It seems very natural for them to play together. and they haven't played that much together as a duo up front. Yes, sometimes we had Laren play as a right winger, or David play as an offensive midfielder or a right winger too. But we rarely saw them together on the front line. And every time they are together, things happen. No.
Yeah, very much so. And I think we really got to see probably the most consistent times of them playing together in 2022, when kind of everything was going right for Canada. But yeah, when these two players are on the pitch together, good things tend to happen for this team.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
yeah, no, they have a really good chemistry. I think their style of play complements each other very, very well. And we've said it before on The Ball is Round, they need to play together. It's integral to the success of this team.
Exactly. And just a few minutes later, on the 40th minute, that was the most dangerous chance of the half. At that time, a corner for Jamaica, really well struck corner to Leon Bailey that was able to really escape the marking of Steven Eustachio. He was all alone at the second post, and unfortunately for him, but fortunately for Canada, the ball hit the posts and went out for a goal kick. I looked at that chance and I was like, "Wow, that's
Canada got let off." Yeah,
exactly. And when you count the chances of Leon Bailey, that's 3 clear-cut chances for Jamaica and for Leon Bailey that he's missed. How can that happen? Because let's not kid ourselves. Canada is a lot better than Jamaica as a squad. It's just not normal to give them that many chances in the first 40 minutes, no?
Well, I'm sure having the match delayed may have impacted concentration to a degree. But I think a lot of that has to go on the coach to prepare his team to, study up on the players that they're going to be facing, and to recognize threats. Like, I think overall I felt like that was a really well worked corner from the Jamaican perspective, but by and large, like, aside from Steve Eustachio, who was kind of chasing Leon Bailey when he escaped his marking, the majority of the other players were kind of just like static during that corner. They really weren't moving. It was very, like, it felt a little bit like they were perhaps ball watching to a degree. No, so for this one, I'm gonna put this one on the coach, I think. Prepare. Yeah, you have to prepare for those opportunities.
I kind of understand your point of view, because it seems that the defending was man to man.
Yeah,
and maybe that's why we haven't seen anybody else, try to get the ball.
could be.
And that's the reason why we saw the problem with man-to-man marking is that if your opponent beats his man, he's all alone.
Exactly.
And I'm not sure that I like that. I like usually a defending like a bit half and half. So you have the very important
zonal
headers that the very good players with heading abilities, like mark the opponent's very good players with heading abilities, and some zonal defense to make sure that you have everything covered and all bases covered. But it wasn't the case in this.
No, it was a very literal
exactly
marking. Yeah,
exactly. It seemed like it. Now maybe it was a mistake from someone, but it seemed like a very, as you said, a man-to-man marking only. So I didn't like that, to be honest, and that's not something at this level that is acceptable. So hopefully the coaching staff will take a look at that in the future games. A few minutes later, on the 45th minute plus 1 minute of added time, Borjan sends the ball forward. Kyle Laren plays the ball beautifully. So first of all, protects the ball twice in front of 2 defenders.
Yeah.
Then with the control, direct the ball directly forward and crosses it to Jonathan David that made the best run that he could have made at the back post, and it's 1-0 for Canada.
Mm-hmm.
What a beautiful goal. What
It
a
was
beautiful
well done.
setup goal. Really,
Yep.
really interesting from both players and from Borjan too.
Yeah. No, Borjan absolutely kind of, I think, launched the initial ball. But for me, I think Kyle Larin gets all the credit for this goal. Like, yes, it was a great run and a composed tap in for Jonathan David, but the hold up and the control inside of the box by Kyle Larin was what made all of that possible, because that free, as kind of two defenders were trying to kind of come to grips with him without committing a foul, of course, that then freed up some of the other players so that Jonathan David was able to kind of sneak in and make that run. So there was just so much that he did right on that goal that I really do think he deserves. He deserves everything that you just said about him.
Now, a few minutes, I think that goal really relieved some of the tension from the Canadian squad, because that's when we saw the quality of that squad really taking the ball and creating some very interesting attacks. And 5 minutes later, very, very interesting attack with Adekugbe sending the ball to Jonathan David on the left. Jonathan David getting the ball, setting up directly Kyle Larin in the box, and inexplicably Kyle Larin misses the target. Well, I think that should have been a goal. This is unacceptable for Kyle Larin to miss that goal. What did you think about that? Did you think that this was going to bite us in the later?
I will always think that, as I am pessimistic Eve. But it was a first-time shot. He didn't have the opportunity, or he didn't take the opportunity, because he did have like plenty of time, I think, to control the ball. So he was just kicking with his whatever trajectory the ball was coming in at him from. So for me, I think maybe the decision making definitely could have been better, because he did have, there were no defenders pressing him remotely close to him. I think he could have taken a touch to settle himself, and then he would have very much had Andre Blake at his mercy, which still, Andre Blake, you still got to get the ball past Andre Blake. I wouldn't say that's definitely a goal. But yeah, I was nervous 100%, especially because those, runs from Leon Bailey early on in the half had still lingered in my mind.
No, exactly. Now, Andrew Blake, there's not much he could have done if Larin hit the ball the right way, because he was all alone, Larin, at exactly. Andrew Blake cannot cover the whole goal. It's as if no goalkeeper can cover the whole goal, right? So
exactly.
if it was placed correctly, that should have been a goal, but unfortunately it wasn't. And that's, for me, very, very, very bad for Kyle Larin, unfortunately, on this play. Halftime was blown a few seconds later, 1-0 for Canada. You are Morbiello. What would be your words for the men's national team at halftime?
Concentrate on set pieces, concentrate, especially for the players on the wing, in balancing their offensive and their defensive contributions, just concentrate, just you have to stay sharp, because there's obviously a lot of quality in this Jamaican side, and they can be threatening. They threatened Milan Borjan several times, so absolutely, keep your focus. Only half done. There's still another 45 minutes to play. That would have been, I think, what I would have led with.
Oh, I would have been really, really upset at halftime. Yes, I would have said, you know what, good job for scoring a goal, but the rest of the half was, you should have dominated that half. And unfortunately, you let Leon Bailey create three chances. And this could have been a 3-0 lead for Jamaica at halftime. So, pick yourselves up and go in the second half and show that you are that team that qualified for the World Cup. You are that team that finished first in the octagon. You are that team that's one of the best in the CONCACAF region. Like, prove it. And that would be my that would have been my my speech at halftime in front of the players, because it was pretty.
It was tame.
It was 100%. The halftime was done, and we started the second half. It's always very difficult when you come back from the dressing room on the second half, because you're not really sure how the players are going to react to your speech. And Canada reacted very well, and there was a very nice chance on the 49th minute with Larian setting up Jonathan David, and from outside the box, David tried his shot. It was saved by Andre Blake again. But there was some very good link-up play at first before the ball was received by Cal Larian. And again, very good play from Cal Larian with his back to the goal to set up Jonathan David. When you see this kind of play that was really collective, do you feel that Canada should have played that way the whole game? And there was something really holding them back in a certain way? Is it maybe the fact that it's in a very very important game, and it's the importance of the game that really held them back? Or
I don't know. Obviously, they're under an interim manager right now, so there's definitely, I think, a degree of uncertainty as well with the squad, and I mean, obviously as well, largely with the federation, with other issues. So I think like there are a lot of external factors as well that could be contributing in that regard. But undoubtedly, it is a very important match, and but it's not like the biggest match that Canada has played even in 2023, so I don't think, like, for me, that this one would be an occasion that would intimidate them.
Interesting. For me, that was one of the most important games in 2023. What was the most important game for you in 2023, if not this one? Was it the Gold Cup
final?
or
the Nations League?
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
So, yeah.
Yeah. For me, Copa America is a lot more important than the Nations League. So qualifying for the Copa America is a lot better than.
Yeah, but I mean, it was a final. So
I agree.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree. Debatable. Moving on, 56th minute, and that's where Canada, I think, failed on their set piece defense again.
Yes.
And let's not, unfortunately, that was a free kick that was played very quickly by Jamaica.
Yes.
And we had Nicholson that got the ball one-on-one in front of Borian. He scores. Everybody, first of all, it was called offside, and then VAR intervened, and no, it wasn't offside. And then Canadian players started complaining, saying, "Oh, but we didn't hear the whistle. We weren't ready," and everything. And I'm like, guys, wake up. This is football. Like, you have to be ready at all times. And if you're not ready, put a player in front of the ball to make sure.
Take a professional yellow card.
Exactly. So for me, this was unacceptable. It looked like a rookie team playing against a very experienced team. No,
a little bit. Yeah, a little bit. You're right. I was really disappointed with how they just completely missed the ball, no pun intended, on the quick free kick. And I think it was, once again, a really good piece of I suppose coaching from the Jamaican manager to recognize that that's a good opportunity to exploit, especially that Canada had struggled on other set piece opportunities in the first half. So no, it was and well thought out as well by the player who took the free kick to recognize that opportunity. So no, this one is, Canada has nobody but themselves to blame for this.
100%. And that's when we wanted to see some coaching.
Yep.
Because when you concede a goal that, let's face it, we were the favorites. So when we concede a goal after opening the scoring in the first half, you need the coach to step up.
Mm-hmm.
What Mauro Biello did, first of all, his first change was to substitute Ishmael Kone for Mike Anthony K. That was the first move. And then the second move, because nothing really happened after, is because most of the time Canada was really trying to rush the play a lot.
Mm-hmm.
At the 71st minute, again, Mauro Biello with two moves. First of all, Jonathan Osorio coming in for Kyle Larin and Junior Hoylett coming in for Tajon Buchanan. So first of all, what did you think about those changes? And you can talk about all the players that went out, because I think there's a lot of things to say on each one of them.
Yeah, I didn't agree with the substitutions overall. I do know like Tajon Buchanan, was coming back from injury, so I don't know if he had a full 90 minutes in him. And obviously there is a match on Tuesday, and there's going to be a shorter recuperation period with the postponement. So I do understand absolutely the need to maximize your substitutions for your starters. However, I'm not a Mark Anthony K fan myself, so I don't get excited when I see him come on. I do understand that and especially in the context, where I don't think he's a particularly creative player. Like I could have understood more bringing Jonathan Osorio in then over Mark Anthony K, because by that time Canada was now tied, and of course, even if it is a road game, let's face it, your job is significantly easier on Tuesday with a win, and I would hope that Mauro Biello would be playing to win this match. To me, that didn't signal like a winning mentality at all.
100%. 100%. I think that Mauro Biello saw this and he was like, you know what? Let's at least get the draw.
Yeah.
And for me, that's not the right attitude. That's not what you need to show to your players or to the fans. Mm-hmm. I agree with you, K for Kone, but when you didn't pick up Mathieu Choinière, you don't have a lot of choices because Jonathan Osorio is not going to play defensive. So, you have you have two midfielders. You need them to be able to play, both ways. So I don't think Osorio would have been the right pick. Mm-hmm. And there wasn't anybody else because you're not going to put Samuel Piet because you're not going to have the offensive.
I was going to say that's too conservative.
That's too conservative. And so you have nobody else. Mm-hmm. So that's the problem. But I think that also Kone wasn't really ready to play a full 90 minutes too. So
yeah,
I kind of understand that, even if I don't like marketing K, but that for me, the decision to take K over Choinière, that's like the bigger problem. Yeah. Exactly. The second decision, removing Kyle Larin for Jonathan Osorio, I just can't understand it. It's just, I don't know. That's very conservative, and Larin was really good and really
he was having a really game.
Very weird. Now, you said for Tajon Buchanan, maybe he was carrying a bit of an injury, so that's why he was removed. But he was having a very good game too. He was very lively, created quite a few things. Yes, we didn't see it in the highlights or anything, but he was very interesting on that right flank. So I feel, but I think I like what Junior Hoylett can bring, so that I understand it. So the only substitution that I don't understand is Osorio for Larin. Mm-hmm. For me, that was not the right play.
Yep. No, I agree with you.
Yeah, and after those changes, I felt, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I felt that Canada really lost momentum of the game.
Completely. Yeah. And I had to wonder, actually, partway through, I was observing that, and I said, I was like, it seems as though they've kind of just taken their foot off the pedal, really, and I wondered if they had gotten an instruction from Biello, to play for a draw, because it felt as though there was a lack of impetus to move forward and to take those risks. So I was actually, I was wondering that, like, if it was deliberate.
Yeah, me too. But also, I think that even if it wasn't deliberate, when the players see the change that you're making, they
It
know what you
signals it.
want. It
Yeah.
signals it. Exactly. They know what you want. So I feel that that didn't help either. But what was really interesting, though, is to see Richie Larea really take that team on his shoulder and really try something and try those runs that he's the master of in a certain
Yeah.
way. Starting the play deep in his own half, doing a 1-2 directly to take the ball back down the right wing, running with it with the ball, and then finding that cheeky pass on the left to a running Steven Eustáquio, who scores, and it's 2-1 for Canada. What did you think about that play, and what did
I
you
loved
think
it.
about a player like Richie Larea on that play?
Well, I mean, yeah, we hadn't seen enough from him, I think, like, of that contribution in this match. And obviously his role has changed, with the emergences of Tajon Buchanan, with and Alistair Johnston as well, although he's versatile, he can play on the left as well. But I think he is best on the right. I thought it was an excellent play. I thought it was really, really nice, really fluid buildup. And I love that he kind of started it off and then committed to seeing it through by continuing the run rather than just passing the ball off and allowing, another winger to potentially kind of carry that for him. And yeah, excellent vision, great time of the run from Eustáquio. It was wonderful, just wonderful.
It was wonderful. It was wonderful. Now, I love that's what Richie Larea is able to do. That offensive spark that he can bring in the game. That's what he's known for, and that's what we love about him. Now, a lot of players, because when I said that Richie Larea shouldn't have started, should have been Alistair Johnston along with Steven Victoria, a lot of people came and said, you know what, this tweet has not aged well. And my opinion remains, for me, defensively, Richie Larea didn't have a good game. But offensively, that play made his presence very important and made his presence, valuable. But if he wasn't a part of that last play, nobody would have said anything about Richie Larea, because he didn't have a very good game either. That one play made his game, and it was such an important play, and he's such a very good player when he does these kinds of plays that I'm happy to see him wear the Canadian shirt, and he made it happen for Canada. As simple as that.
Yeah.
Now, at the end of the game, we had Mortem at around the 92nd minute, do two other substitutions, with Liam Millar coming in for Alphonso Davies and Alistair Johnston coming in for Jonathan David. Of course, he wanted to keep the score 2-1 for Canada. That's completely normal. But the reason why I'm talking about this, what did you think about the game of Alphonso Davies and the game of Jonathan David?
So obviously Jonathan David had a goal, so he had an all right day at the office. I think overall it was a decent match by Jonathan David. I think Carl Aaron was the better of the duo, but once again, we saw that kind of when one shines, they both shine. In that pairing, he did have some other chances. I thought his positioning was good. He did test Andre Blake a few times. He got his shots on target. I thought I saw like a killer instinct in him in a striker. Even if he's not in great form, he was still willing to try. He was still, he didn't look like a player who was lacking in confidence or anything like that, even though the numbers aren't there for him right now and he's not getting the playing time that he's used to. So for me, no, good day at the office for Jonathan David. Definitely. As for Alphonso Davies, I'm not sure I don't think this was his best match. I mean, once again, he was kind of pulled all over the field. He did spend some time on the left hand, more of his time on the left hand side, but he did also migrate to the right hand side and switch it up a few times. But I'm not 100% sure that he was used as effectively as he could have been. Or maybe, I don't know. It just felt like things were off. I'm not sure how to say it.
Completely agree. I would add a couple of things on what you said. First of all, Jonathan David, I think the goal really helped him a lot, because before the goal, he was a bit shaky. He wasn't really very confident with his movement, creating anything. But we saw everything that was interesting on Jonathan David's game came after the goal. That pass to Kyle Larin came after the goal. That shot from outside the box was at the beginning of the second half. You know, everything that he did right, he did it after that goal, that tap-in that was so important for him. So I think that having a Jonathan David that's confident is massive. So hopefully he'll take that confidence and bring it on Tuesday for another very good showing, hopefully. Now for Alphonso Davies, I still don't understand what we're doing with him. I think we're putting too much weight on his shoulders.
Yeah.
Expecting him to do so much. And at the end, Alphonso Davies is one of the best left backs in the world. Why is he playing as a left midfielder? You know, at one point, Bayern is one of the biggest clubs in the world. If they they know what they're doing. If they put him there, that means that he should be there. It's as simple as that. And you have so many good players that can play, you know, as a left. You can play Tajan Buchanan and Junior Hoylett. You can play Liam Miller. That's been really good. You have so many players that can play that left midfielder role that it's okay. Like, even play Sam Adekugbe a bit further and play Alphonso Davies to his position. Left back is his position. Roberto said they really have to figure out how to get the best of Alphonso Davies. So I think we just answered what we think about the best way of using Alphonso Davies. We do have another comment from Roberto that I think is really interesting. Hi all, I do not feel our overall performance was that good. Even though we did accomplish a win, I may mistakenly think the team is better than they are. What do you think, Eve, about that?
It's always weird in CONCACAF because road matches are so, you know, they're so road matchy, you know, there's the travel, there's the conditions, there's, and especially this one with the delay on top of it. So there's always so many of those X factors, that like make me try to kind of find, I think, ways to give benefit of the doubt sometimes, in situations like this. But overall, I think definitely the performance, it was very hit and miss. Canada had some moments of brilliance, which thankfully they capitalized on. But yeah, there were definitely, I think, a lot of shortcomings in this match. You know, I think it was an improvement on what we saw the last time this team was out, 100%, obviously. But yeah, it definitely wasn't their best showing at all.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't. And it's funny because I felt that both teams were really, really rusty in a certain way.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, and missing some easy passes. You know, link-up plays weren't really good. The second half was a lot better, I think, from both teams. But the first half was really, really not really easy on the eyes, in my opinion. And yes, I think this team, I don't think it's a mistake, Roberto, to think that this team is better, because I do think that they are better than this. I do think that they need a better coach. I'm sorry. Nothing against Mauro Biello. I think
they 100% do.
Exactly. I think Mauro Biello is doing what Herdman did, you know, and continuing the work of Herdman.
Yeah.
We need a tactician. We need someone that's going to be able to bring those tactics, those advanced tactics to a very youthful squad, but very talented squad too. And, you know, No, I think that they are better than what they're showing right now.
Agree. Wholeheartedly.
Good. So we do have one question that was
Okay.
sent to us to before the game, and that's
Okay.
Rhonda Brownlee, that usually always sends us questions. So thanks a lot for your question, Rhonda. Has Steven Eustachio become the most essential player for the Canadian men's national team squad, Eve?
I mean, it's so hard when you have like basically the best, one of the best left backs in the world on the pitch. But I think yes is my opinion. Particularly, all the more so if Alphonso Davies is going to be played in positions that aren't advantageous to his quality. Yeah, for me, he is like the midfield metronome. All he's very important. I think he's a good leader in the squad. He obviously is willing to step up and take chances in front of goal, which we need. And the difference in the midfield of Canada with and without Stephen Eustachio is night and day. So yeah, I think he may well be the most important player on the squad.
You know what? I completely agree, and for me, he's 100% the most important player of the squad.
Mm-hmm.
As simple as that. And as you said, Davies not played at the right position. David, unfortunately, he's a bit streaky. So depending on his form, sometimes it's so important. Sometimes it's just unfortunately invisible. We saw it at the World Cup. But Steven Eustachio, first of all, every time he plays for Canada, you can feel his presence. You can feel his technical abilities. You can see everything that he does on the pitch, defensively and offensively. And you see it also at the highest of the levels with FC Porto, scoring a lot of goals in Champions League, in a Portuguese league, everywhere. Yep. So yeah, he is the most important players in this squad, and it's nobody else. It's him. He's the metronome, as you called him a bit earlier, Eve. So hopefully we answered your question, Rhonda. Thank you very much for sending us questions all the time. So I think that's gonna wrap up the Canadian men's national team segment. We do have the return leg that's gonna be played on Tuesday. So before we wrap it up, one last question: what would be your thinking ahead of the second leg? Do you still play the same starting 11, or do you change things up a bit? Do you have someone in mind that you think should be in the starting 11?
I do like Canada better in a 4-4-2, so I would hope to see the same formation again. However, I think, as we discussed earlier, if the center back pairing is going to be Miller and Victoria, then we do, even if it is a home game and even if Canada is carrying an advantage, I think we do still need the more conservative option of Alistair Johnston there to protect, Victoria primarily. I was trying to figure out a better way to say it. So I think that is perhaps something I would stick, though largely yes, with the same starting 11, perhaps with that one change being made. I would also like to see Alphonso Davies move to the left back position. As for who could play the left midfield position, you gave a list earlier, and any one of those players certainly would have no issue whatsoever with them starting in that position. But I did say I would lean towards keeping Tajon Buchanan on the right and probably starting somebody else if possible.
I like that. I would do the same thing, but I would put Richie Larea as a left back, or even as a left winger, and I would put Alphonso Davies as a left back.
Yeah,
so that would be my choice, because I don't think Derek Cornelius would be the right choice, in such an important game. I would have done it in Jamaica, but I wouldn't do it in Canada for the second leg. So
yeah.
So hopefully we'll see some adjustments from Biello, or not a lot of adjustments. So we'll discuss that game and we'll analyze that game next week. Of course, on the ball is round, like we usually do. So moving on from the Canadian men's national team, it's the end of our post-mortem that lasted, I think, that's the 4th episode that we talk about the CF Montreal post-mortem. And I think it's the good time to discuss the one and only Olivier Renard. So go ahead, Eve. What is your grade? What did he do right? What did he do wrong? And should we keep him, even if we don't have a choice?
I was gonna say
we shouldn't keep him.
Yeah. Well, I think it's a moot point on that one because he stays. And I think either way, I think changing him out would just, especially while also searching for a new coach, I think would just really hamper a lot of efforts. So, to sign and to develop players. So yeah, I do think he stays. All the same, I don't think he's had a very good year for me. Really. I mean, first and foremost, the choice to hire Hernan Lozada obviously backfired. And I mean, he even was willing to use the word mistake, if I'm not mistaken, in his availability. And it's not often that you will have somebody basically just say, yeah, I made a mistake hiring this guy. And I understand I'm kind of paraphrasing aggressively here, but that is the message I believe that we all took away from it. So that is not off to a great start for Olivier Renard's year, but nonetheless, it happened. When we look at the players, I guess there were several players who left, quite a few. And so 2022 was kind of a banger of a year for him. Unfortunately, 2023, the signings to replace those players didn't necessarily work out as expected. And that is where we do have to put a lot of the onus on Olivier Renard, in my opinion. So, I mean, we graded the individual players, several of whom were new arrivals this year, and we didn't exactly give them glowing recommendations. Like when we looked at Bryce Duke, when we looked at George Campbell, when we looked at I'm just trying to think of who else, that we were like, oh boy. Obviously the Matko Miljevic situation, I don't know even how your sporting director can be unaware that things like that are happening. For me, that's like kind of shocking, that it got kind of broken in the news, and then all of a sudden they had to scramble to terminate his contract. So just a general lack of oversight, I want to say. There were some trades I think that Olivier Renard did get right. I think the Ariel Lassiter was a very, very, very handy signing for Montreal. Obviously, Mahala Opoku has fit in quite well. Jules-Anthony Videssin looks extremely promising, and it was good to bring back Gabriele Corbo to shore up the midfield. Or, my apologies, the defense. Especially, knowing all the more so when we knew that Rudy Camacho would be leaving partway through the season, which, of course, came as a surprise, I think, to many of us. So, yeah, a really mixed bag, I have to say. A really, really mixed bag. But for me, I'm going to give him, I think, a 5 out of 10. Because there were a few signings that worked, several that look like they're maybe just, I don't know if the player isn't going to work out here, or if the player is, maybe just needs some more development time and maybe just being a little hasty. But yeah, for me, I think probably the coaching signing is the biggest detractor from his season. So it's going to be a 5.
Interesting. It's funny because you said most of the things that I wanted to say. So
sorry.
It's okay. I'll just add just a few things. I divided the players into 3 categories, the players that he recruited in 3 categories. So first of all, the plus category, that he brought something else to the squad. The ish, that means that I'm not really sure. I'm on the fence between a plus or a minus.
Okay. Yeah.
The third option would be a minus. So in the plus category, I had Lassiter, Corbo, and Opoku. I think exactly like you. Lassiter, because he was interesting. We didn't think he would do anything, and he still was able to do some interesting things from time to time. In the ish category, I had Bryce Duke, Aaron Herrera, just because he was injured, or else I think he would have been in the plus. Jules-Anthony Videssin is that I think he's going to develop into a good player. And George Campbell, that was an ish because he had some good games, but some very bad games too. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm on the fence still on George Campbell. And in the minus category, there's two players, and it's for me Chinonzo 4
Mm-hmm.
and Elias and Hady. Those two players, for me, I just still can't understand why they are in our squad. Um, Even if I don't think that it's over for them, they can still develop. But for this year, for 2023, I don't think it was the best players to have. Um, Now, second thing, yes, let's not look only at the players and the way they developed because he's not the only person that should be accountable for the development of
Mm-hmm.
players.
I
It's also
agree.
the coaching staff, but he's 100%
Yeah.
accountable for the choosing of the coaching staff. And for me, this is completely unacceptable at this level because everything, all the warning signs from DC's tenure, Losada at DC, were there. And he still made sure to choose him. At I think 2 months into the season, he went on a media availability and say we weren't expecting to be playing that way.
Yeah.
So already there, you had some signs of him not being very happy. And unfortunately, he didn't pull the trigger. And I think he should have had. They should have done that at that time. Now, yes, he got that good winning streak after with Losada, but still, that wasn't the beautiful game that
Mm-hmm.
Olivier Renard promised us in a certain way. The way I understand the project is that we're gonna play the kids, we're gonna play the youth, but also we're gonna make sure to play some beautiful soccer. And we haven't seen beautiful soccer the whole year in 2023. And for me, that's a big, 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 big mistake from Olivier Renard. And one last thing that he did well, in my opinion, is the handling of the media. I really like every interview that Olivier Renard has uh, has done in 2023. He's very transparent. His message is always very clear. Yes, sometimes he can't say everything, but you can feel, in his answer, you can understand in his answer what he means. He put the pressure on Hernan Losada when needed, because as soon as he talked about Losada not really playing the way that they
Mm-hmm.
decided to play, that's when the winning streak started right after that
Yeah.
intervention, maybe a couple of games after. So that's, I think, very interesting. But also the end of the year, his handling of the media at the end of the year presser was remarkable, and I think he's so good at that he makes a very, very credible sporting director, and I really like that. Now,
Mm-hmm.
if I'm going to grade him this year in 2023, I would give him a 4 out of 10. And the reason behind this is we didn't see any impact, no pun intended, any positive impact on any of his decisions. And for me, that's a bit worrying. So
Mm-hmm.
hopefully it's a year off for Olivier Renard, a year where it happens. Sometimes
Yep.
you're not really feeling it. So hopefully it is that, and that we're going to see the real Olivier Renard next year. There are some very interesting moves that he will have a lot of decisions to make in the next coming weeks, and it starts like very, very, very soon.
Mm-hmm.
Anything to add on the plus and minuses of Olivier Renard?
No, I don't think so. I feel like we covered it.
Perfect. So let's look. We do have two questions
Okay.
let's start with the one from Dr. Foot. It's in French,
All
so I'll
right.
translate it as much as I can. Of all the players whose options are not yet exercised in MLS, are there any interesting profiles for CF Montreal, Second question, do you think then Pantemis will stay in Montreal? Do you want to start, Eve, or do you want me to start?
I can start.
Yeah, go ahead.
I won't lie, I'm like a shade off on exactly who all is available. And I think there are obviously as well, there are the teams who are still actively playing who haven't released that. I mean, Montreal hasn't released that information themselves. So, there's definitely, I think, a lot still maybe to keep looking on, for sure. But regarding James Pantemis, I think we covered it pretty extensively when we talked, about in the the first part of the postmortem that I was there for.
Exactly. So the second part, 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, exactly. I do think that we covered that quite well. And I think we're pretty much unanimous that no, he should not stay with Montreal for kind of everybody's benefit. As to whether or not he will, obviously, I think my sentiment is it kind of depends on where his ambition lies. Does he want to be a starting keeper? Because then the answer is he has to go elsewhere, period. Otherwise, though, as for interesting players, I'm going to turn it over to you. I'm going to reflect on it a little bit. I just want to double check Vancouver before I speak out of turn. So I'm going to turn it back over to you, and I'm going to double check what Vancouver.
No worries. So first of all, I completely agree with you on Pantemis. As you said, we covered it last week, so no need to add anything on that. But the second part of the first part of the question, I looked it up a bit. So there's only 8 teams that released, their decisions as of right now. Today, the 19th of November, and that's Austin FC, Real Salt Lake, Atlanta, the LA Galaxy, Vancouver, Toronto FC, Charlotte, New York City FC, and Miami. Sorry, 9 teams. And Miami. So that's 9 teams only out of 29 now, 30. I don't remember how many teams.
29.
29. Yeah, exactly. So I looked at all the decisions on all the teams. I know a lot of players, a lot of people are going to tell me, yeah, Joseph Martinez from Miami. No, I'm not interested in Joseph Martinez. I don't do new with old. I think he was very good with Atlanta. I don't think he has what it takes to be very good with anybody else. That's my opinion, and I stick by it. The second obvious answer that a lot of people are going to talk about is Damir Kralak from Real Salt Lake. That's really, really, really interesting. But he is in talks with the Real Salt Lake, so he might still sign with them. I don't think he's going to be the right fit for Montreal because we do have midfielders already. A lot of times he plays as forward, but he's obviously a midfielder. I don't think that we're gonna recruit another midfielder. We do have a lot of good players at that position. I don't think that's where we should reinforce ourselves, unless Victor Wanyama goes away. And of course, Damir Kralak is not young. He's 34 right now, so I wouldn't choose Damir Kralak. The only player that was interesting, and there's only one player that I really think would be a very good idea, is Adam Lundqvist from Austin FC. I would really like to see him with CF Montreal. So I'll tell you why. First of all, he's a left back. We need a left back, and he can play as a left wing back too. He's a player that's been very consistent, Swedish international, not a lot of caps, only 2, but still a Swedish international. Last year, he played 23 games. He gave 2 assists in Austin. Not a lot of assists, but you know what? Austin wasn't really doing very well last year. So, when you're playing in a team that's so, of course, if you're a left back, you're not going to have some very good stats either. What's interesting is that in 2022, when Austin had that great year, he had 31 games and 5 assists. So he's able to do those crosses. He's interesting defensively and offensively. I think he would be a very good fit. He's 29, so he's not very old, but he's still a veteran presence, which is really interesting if you bring another project as a left back or left wing back. he can teach him a thing or two. So that's a player that I would like to go and grab. I
Okay.
think he could be very interesting with the CF Montreal.
Mm-hmm. I was wondering, because I did see that Will Bruin is a player who is now a free agent. I know he was a very, very excellent striker with Seattle.
Seattle.
I know,
And
I
with
know he
Houston
is.
too. With
Pardon?
Houston too. With
Yeah,
Houston was good. Yeah.
true. He is 34, but Montreal does definitely need a veteran presence. I think he is a player who, like, maybe a 1-year contract could be interesting. Because we do have MLS experience, a lot of MLS experience there. So he's a player maybe who kind of crosses my mind. But otherwise, yeah, I do like the case though that you made for Lundqvist.
Yeah, I think he's very interesting. I think we should go and get him as soon as we can, if he is still available, of course.
Mm-hmm.
So that's for your question, Dr. Foot. I hope we answered it in the right way. And the next question is from FD Soccer. He asks, so for you, are the youth like Zuhir, Elias, or Asi will they stay with the first team in 2024? So if I'll start this one, if you
Yeah, go
don't
for it.
mind, I don't think Eliades is gonna stay with the first team. I think maybe another loan would be a good thing for him. I think that Zuhir is gonna be in that midfield. He's gonna get his minutes. I think he's gonna be in that midfield. He had such a tremendous year in the USL, so I think Zuhir is gonna be there.
Yeah,
For Asi, the Canadian Premier League year this year, he was so and so, but I will still keep him with the first team. I think he can be very interesting if we play with wingers, because if we don't play with wingers, there's no point in leaving him with the.
Yeah, agree. No, I 100% agree with what you said. I would have said the exact same thing.
Nice. I like that.
Yeah.
So hopefully we answered all your questions. These are the questions that we received this week. Let's talk about the last subject. And as we said, it's the beginning of the off season in MLS. When we say off season, for us, it's the off season. Yes, there is still the playoffs, but for CF Montreal fans, we're already in the off season. There's the first date that's coming very, very soon, and that's the 22nd of November. So Wednesday, the 22nd of November. At that time, all the teams have to say which players are going to be given bona fide offers. Now, I'm pretty sure a lot of you are asking, what is a bona fide offer? So I'm going to tell you exactly what it is. So first of all, it's for all players that have at least 1 year of MLS, but 1 year of MLS experience are out of contract too. So you can give them an offer that's a bona fide offer, which is either a $15,000 increase on their current contract or a 10% increase in salary over that contract. So it's either or. So if you're saying, you know what, we're going to offer you a bona fide offer, it's either a $15,000 increase or a 10% increase, depending on what the club chooses. So Montreal needs to choose which players are going to be offered a bona fide offer by the 22nd of November. We have 3 players that could qualify for that: Ariel Lassiter, Romel Kyoto, and Ahmed Hamdi. Would you give a bona fide offer for one of these 3 players?
I think Ariel Lassiter, he definitely proved his versatility and usefulness, and also just seems to have an excellent work rate, and did seem to adapt really, really quickly to Montreal, and he's the only one.
I'm just very curious now that I think about it. I'm not sure if he's eligible for free agency. Ariel Lassiter, I don't know how long he's been in MLS. That's a good question now that I think about it. And same thing for Kyoto. Um, yeah, it should be available. Okay, forget what I
Yep.
just said. So Lassiter should be available for free agency. So no bona fide. So the only player
Okay.
that is Ahmed Hamdi. So I think
No.
we both agree that no. So okay. In case Lassiter and Kyoto are eligible, so you would give a bona fide offer for Lassiter.
Yep.
I would choose exactly the same thing. So that's interesting. We're gonna know more about it next episode, because every club has to publicize everything that they did. First of all, they have to talk about which players they gave a bona fide offer to. That's the only thing that they need to say on the 22nd. For the options, the contract options, the date is the 1st of December, so we'll know on the following episode which players got their options exercised or not. So yeah, so that's it, I think, for today. We don't have a lot more to say. I think that was really, really interesting. Where will you be watching the game, the Canada game on Tuesday?
Probably at home, to be honest. Yeah, quiet. Probably at home. No fun. What about you? Are you going out?
No, I'm not. Staying at home, and I'm gonna finally attend the presser. It's just that I wasn't able to on Saturday, because I was supposed to be. It was supposed to be Friday evening, and I was able to, but Saturday, right after the game, I had to go out with my son. So I'm very excited on Tuesday to, first of all, yes, watch the game at home, but also attend the presser. I think it's going to be very interesting. So good. So Eve, thanks a lot for being here with me today.
Always happy to be with you.
And of course, we missed Elias, but he'll be here. Pretty sure he'll be here next week for the next episode of The Ball is Round. Thanks, everyone, for being here with us. And see you next week for episode 157 next week of The Ball is Round.